Just as this pandemic has revealed many weak points in our society, it's also prompted some interesting initiatives. And where food security is concerned, our Ontario hubs recently looked at two projects that aim to grow more food locally. With us now on that, in Red Rock on the north shore of Lake Superior, Charnel Anderson, who covers the northwestern part of the province, and covering Hamilton-Niagara from Hamilton, Justin Chandler. Welcome both to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
So you guys both looked at technology that is looking to change traditional farming. I'll start with you, Charnel. Tell us about the approach to farming that you reported on.
Right. So I wrote about container farms, which are sometimes also called vertical farms. I believe the technical term is growth chamber, but what it is just one form of controlled environment agriculture, um, which is exactly what it sounds like. So it's food that's produced in a controlled environment. As you can see here, this is what they look like. It's essentially a repurposed shipping container. So it's outfitted with shelving units and a hydroponic growing system that uses water instead of soil. And so it produces a variety of different produce, mainly leafy greens, though. So stuff like lettuce, kale, spinach, different herbs. And quite often manufacturers, and the media does this as well, they tout these container farms as a solution to food insecurity in remote communities. These are places where the growing season is shorter, the winters are longer. So for my story, I wanted to examine that claim and whether container farms really are a solution to food insecurity in these places.
All right, I'm going to jump to Justin. You looked at similar technology, but tell us it's being applied a little differently. Tell us about that.
Yes, as you said, essentially it's the same sort of controlled environment agriculture that Charnel was talking about. But in the case of what I was looking at, it's being applied more straight up. So instead of having a container, these are often more facilities. So for example, one that I'm looking at in Niagara is 13 floors. So you're getting the same technology just on a bigger scale, often to feed a larger community. And a lot of the ones in Southern Ontario are centered around the GTA. So I was looking at sort of how those are going to be applied to help people who live in that community.
Now, something that Charnel had touched on is that this is relatively new technology, but there might be some limits when we talk to its application in rural and remote communities. Charnel, what do you think some of the benefits are from remote communities, and is there some limits to that?
Right. So, I mean, in terms of the benefits, I think the biggest draw of this technology is that it can be used to grow food anywhere. It was originally developed as a technology used to grow food in space. Uh, so, you can get these container farms, plop them down, plug them in, whether that's in the desert or in the Arctic, and they'll grow food. Um, in terms of some of the drawbacks, though, just because it can grow food anywhere, it doesn't mean it grows the kind of food that people want to eat, nor is it the way that people want to grow their food all the time. As you know, food is a big part of culture, from what we eat to how we prepare it. Our relationship to food is a big part of who we are. So, particularly when it comes to addressing food insecurity in remote First Nation communities, we need to take those cultural and social elements into account. For example, in many Indigenous communities, traditional or country food tends to be wild food, so stuff like caribou or moose, which as of yet can't be grown in a container farm.
Right. Justin, I want to throw that question to you. In terms of this technology, what are the benefits when we think of remote communities, rural communities, say in the Niagara area?
Well, as it stands right now, a lot of communities in the Niagara area that are more remote, they have a lot of farmland that they can grow on, and that's still the current better option. So what these ones are doing is more hoping to get food to people who live in cities where they don't have close driving access to farms and to agriculture. And part of that reason is just that these are such big facilities right now that you can't necessarily put a huge vertical farm or a container farm just anywhere, because the infrastructure and the energy costs are very expensive. So we're still, I think, early stages. And as Charnel says, there's only so much lettuce, kale, arugula that people can eat, and that's what people are growing right now. One of the experts in controlled agriculture that I spoke to at the University of Guelph, Mike Dixon, he said lettuce is only food when you add ranch dressing. So that's sort of his joke on it. But we're not at the stage where we can easily grow berries or protein or these other things that people would usually consider their staples at the grocery store.
When this technology first came out about 3 years ago, we had done a profile of a vertical farmer shipping container out in Chelmsford, Sudbury, and this was touted as potentially the big solution to food insecurity in northern areas. Justin, do you think that this can be replicated to address that, or is this just one piece to the puzzle?
I think we're likely looking at one piece of the puzzle. I think Charnel could probably speak to it better than I can, but my understanding is that until this becomes more sustainable, and it has become more sustainable in recent years as the cost, for example, of lighting has gone down. LEDs are much more efficient, and you can actually put these on in a greenhouse and leave them on all day. But we still need that infrastructure.
Charnel, your piece on tvo.org looked at a community on Manitoulin Island. Was this, they brought this in during the pandemic, and this was a conversation that they had before that. What have they been saying in terms of its solution to bringing fresh produce to the area?
Right. So this community on Manitoulin Island it's on the west side. So it's about a 2-hour drive back to the mainland, and it's 40 minutes to the closest grocery store. So it's quite remote. But by all accounts, they're happy with their product. They've yet to actually harvest food yet, but when they do, they're planning on doing a subscription style weekly box that community members can sign up for, and they'll get the fresh produce delivered right to their door.
And something that you touched on was this, in terms of the concept of colonialism. When we look at how this shipping container and this technology, kind of works with traditional farming, are people open to this idea? Or, in terms of the connection that we have with food, Indigenous cultures have a very spiritual connection with food. How does that play into this?
Right. So one of the sources that I spoke to, Alex Wilson, she's a member of Opaskwayak Cree Nation in northern Manitoba, and she made an interesting observation. She was talking to me about the spirituality of food and the lack thereof in food that's grown in containers. So she compared it to clear cutting old growth forests. When you cut all the old trees, which Alex says are the elders, so when you cut all those old trees, you take them out of the forest, how does the next generation of trees know how to be trees? Because there's no older trees around for them to learn from. It's similar to humans passing knowledge between generations. And Alex says that they don't know how to be trees. They were just planted there, and they don't have that same transmission of knowledge that they would had there been older trees around for them to learn from. And she says this is similar to what's happening in container farms. The plants are missing that spiritual dimension. They don't have that knowledge that they would have acquired had they grown out in the wild. So she says that wild food nourishes you different than the food that comes from container farms.
Some very interesting stuff. I want to thank you guys both, Justin Chandler and Charnel Anderson, both Ontario Hub journalists. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.